Yo, ho, ho, ho. What it do, people? What it do? What it do, people? We had to do an emergency stream. I called it an emergency because when the news broke, I was already at work. And normally when I get off, I just want to like to do my workouts, whatever, whatever. But in this case, I had to postpone that, bro. I had to postpone that because I just wasn't sure what to really make of the news at first. But now I think I got my mind made up. Let me just take a minute to get some things pulled up here. I'm trying to get it to where when y'all chat, I can actually see it. And obviously, if you're not watching this live, you can just go ahead and fast forward to this. We'll get to the nitty gritty here in just a moment. All right. I got my link out there. That shit's crazy. That shit with Real Madrid is hilarious. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start it. I know it's zero people in here. I'm sure most of the people that's going to be watching this is going to be seeing this after I'm no longer live. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and start talking about the topic, man. So this is the breaking news that came out earlier in the day. Barcelona will hear offers for Ferran Torres this summer. Barcelona prefers to sell Ferran over Lewandowski, who they want to keep. This has been confirmed. This is by Samuel Marsden, I believe is his name. The confirmation is that this is indeed Barcelona's ideal scenario for next year. Julian Alvarez as their starting forward, Lewandowski as the backup, sell Ferran Torres to fund further deals. All right, so let me just react to this tweet by tweet because this all was coming out back to back to back. Barcelona will hear offers for Ferran Torres this summer. And I want to say to that, that's the obvious thing the club should do, right? We would be naive if somebody hits our line and said, hey, we want to talk to you about Ferran Torres, and we're like, nah, we're not interested. There's probably only, I would say, two players. Three. One at, actually, you know what? There's four. There's four players that if somebody rang my phone and wanted to talk a transfer for, I'm hanging up. Yon Garcia, Kubarsi, Pedri, Lamine Yamal. Those are the four where I don't care if you want to put down 200 million, 300 million, something ridiculous, right? Sometimes you got to prioritize a player over any amount of money. And with those four, I am not answering the phone for anybody. However, if I did not name you, that doesn't mean I want you going. However, it does mean that if there is an offer that suits what we believe the player's value is, we will entertain it. We will start negotiations. We can see if we can get a little higher. They're probably going to want to make it a little lower, whatever it may be. But we will do that. And Ferran Torres, without a doubt, has to be one of those players. So that then goes into the next tweet where it says Barcelona prefers to sell Ferran Torres over Lewandowski, who they want to keep. So, not only is Barcelona are willing to hear offers for Ferran Torres, they prefer to sell Ferran Torres over Lewandowski. If it was up to Barcelona and they had to sell one of the two, it would be Ferran over Lewandowski, which makes sense from a financial point because, let's be real, nobody's putting in any bids to buy Lewandowski from us right now. Let's just be real. And between the two players, Ferran Torres is the one who actually has value. You try to sell for Lewandowski right now, it's not going to happen. You're going to have whoever's negotiating with us, especially, let's say if we give him that 1 year extension, which hasn't been decided yet. But if we give him that 1 year extension, nobody's going to come in January or something like that is going to want to purchase him. So if anybody comes in and get him, yeah, we're just going to go ahead to void his contract out, and then they're going to work with Lewandowski's team to get a negotiation going. That's them. With Ferran, realistically, we can get 50 million euros. What's up, real Mr. Frost? You said what? Yeah, also Ferran Torres is like 24 years old. Exactly. There's actual value in selling Ferran Torres. It is. Is he only 24, bro? That's crazy if he is. No. They say he's 26. He's 26. His birthday is February 29th. So he just turned 26, but that's still young. That's still his prime. He can still give somebody 5 very good years if he leaves this transfer window. And people are going to be all over the place with their estimation of how much they want for Ferran Torres. I don't think it's a secret that Barcelona would prefer to get rid of him. I think that was the word even before this news came out. This really just confirms it. But he's under a long contract. He puts up decent numbers that we're going to look at here in a minute. But Ferran Torres can actually generate, I would say, worst case scenario, 50 million euros. I think a fair price for him, when we look at the market, just generally just look at the market and how players go for crazy prices nowadays. Having won half of what Ferran has won and hasn't scored as many goals as Ferran. Like, I know we as a Barcelona fan base are really sick of Ferran Torres, most of us. But if you take his numbers and compare it to a lot of the other strikers that's in the market, his numbers will hold his own. Like, he can hold his own in any other conversation with any other striker. And if that player was going for sale, any other club will demand 50, 60 million euros minimum. Like, that's probably where they're starting for somebody. If he was another player coming out of Napoli, putting up these same exact numbers, Napoli would want a shit ton of money from them. So if Barcelona's going to sell, though most people know we would prefer to let him go over Lewandowski, Barcelona still hold the cards and yeah, we want him out, but we're not just going to give him away. And yes, a known secret that we would prefer to sell him over Lewandowski, but again, we're not going to give him away. So I think Barcelona realistically can get at least what we paid to City to get him, which was around 60 million euros. And I don't think that's too much to advise that we should demand. Because again, if this same type of player with the same exact stats was leaving Napoli, like somewhere in Serie A, somewhere out of Ligue 1, hell, even out of the Portuguese league, If that same player, like, let me look at his numbers real quick. Let's pull this up real quick because his numbers warrants like any other club is getting them, bro. They're gonna ask for the moon and back. Bro, I hate when I get to this point. Okay, there we go. It only does this when it's full screen. All right. So this year, obviously, he's on a slump. I think he's going on now 10 games played where he hasn't scored a goal. But if you remove those 10 games and you look at the fact that he had, let's say if he, in the last 10 games, I don't think he got a goal. I don't think he has an assist. So if you take away those 10 games and we just focus on, there was a stretch where he had 30 games played and he had 12 goals and 1 assist. That's almost a contribution every other game. And then especially if you follow it up from the season he had before, where he almost had 20 goals, 7 assists, a total of 26 contributions. So this down year is 17 contributions, and we still have games to go. We do. I think he could probably get to, because he still plays a lot, I think he can get to 20 GA. He's at 17 right now. I think he can get to 20 GA by the end of the season. If you look at where he was last season, 26 GA. So my point is, any other club, if a player who had back-to-back seasons of 20 GA, who's 25, 26 years old, he just turned 26, so he's in his prime. If he was leaving any other club, they will demand a lot of money for him. So Barcelona has every right to try to get at least 60 million euros. When he transferred to Barcelona, do they have his transfer fee, like his history? I don't think they do. I think it was around 60 million euros, though. I do. I think that's what the price. Barcelona should be able to get that. I think we should definitely be able to get that kind of price. Lewandowski being the backup, even at the age that he's at now, which is 37, he will turn 38 this year. Him coming off the bench, I do think that is something that I'm not the biggest fan of, if I'm being honest. I get the club's idea. He's a veteran. He's a leader of the locker room. His presence in the locker room can still have an impact, though he won't be playing as much. But the backup striker plays a lot. And Lewandowski, for whatever reason, obviously his age has a factor, like plays a factor, but his numbers dropped off a cliff this year. It has. And because it's dropped off a cliff, what is that going to look like next year? Like, what is his performances going to look like next season? He already has came out and said he's somebody who needs to play to get into a rhythm, and that's when you start getting the best. Like, the more games he plays, the better he will get. But that's not going to be your role as a backup. And we've seen that this year at 37 with these kind of numbers. His numbers are for this season. He's also at 17 contributions. That's crazy. Both of our strikers have 16 goals, 1 assist. Am I seeing that right? Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Both of our strikers have 16 goals, 1 assist. That is a big fall off from last season from Lewandowski, where he had 45 contributions, 42 of those were goals. I think we really should have tried to win everything that year because I don't think, obviously we're not going to get that again from Lewandowski at his age, and I don't think we're going to get another season like that from Rafinha. It's crazy to really think about that in hindsight because the numbers that they were putting up last season was historical. And then Lamine Yamal and the stats that he put up, and we didn't come up with the Champions League. That's tough. Anyway, I'm just looking at just straight numbers. 17 contributions from Lewandowski, 17 from Ferran. Obviously, it's not enough for either of the two. You combine both of them, that's still not what Lewandowski did last year. So if he's going to be worse than that, next season because he's going to be older. He's not going to be playing as much, so he can't get into the rhythm that he was just talking about. If all these things are true, is he even good enough for a backup? We're going to be relying so heavily on whoever we sign at the striker position next year that I don't know how much of an impact Lewandowski will really have at the backup position. Because our striker last year, the success we had last season, we saw our starting striker had over 40 goals in all competitions. But our backup striker had 19 goals, 7 assists, 26 contributions. So let's say our backup, if that's the standard that we want to try to compete in all levels, our backup needs to get 20 to 25 contributions. Lewandowski's not getting that as a backup next year. So that's going to put more pressure on whoever we sign at the striker. You need to hit the ground running. You need to put up numbers. Because the year that we were competing on all fronts, our starting striker, when we knew who our front three were, our starting striker was getting 42 goals in all competitions. That's tough. That's tough. I get the idea of Barcelona wanting to revamp that striker position because it needs it badly. And I approve of them wanting to sell Ferran Torres. I do. But if we being real, because we backed ourselves into a corner, the most ideal situation would be if we do keep Lewandowski, he would be third striker. We would have a young, promising striker who can rotate with Lewandowski for that backup spot. And then the starting striker is in the peak of his prime, and he's ready to go right now. And he fits everything that we're asking for. And I don't know if there's another striker out there. I genuinely don't believe Julian Alvarez, who I'm going to pull up his stats here. I don't think he can ever get to this. This right here, 45 contributions, 42 goals, and that's not an anomaly. Go look at what he did in Germany. He was knocking 40 and up every year. He had a stretch from 2015 to 2022. That's 7 years where he was constantly getting over 50 goals. He comes to Barcelona and immediately jumps off the table with 33 goals. Has a dip this year. We didn't win anything this year. Well, we didn't win La Liga that year. Because, right, this is the year we won it with Xavi. Didn't win anything this year. He didn't put up those kind of numbers, but he got right back to it. But then he falls off a cliff again. So we need somebody who was putting up Lewandowski, prime Lewandowski numbers. We need 40 to 50 contributions. And I genuinely don't think Julian Alvarez has that capability. The club has clearly seemed to have made their mind up. Julian Alvarez is the option we're going to go with. Somehow, some way, we're going to convince Atletico Madrid to do business with us and not fuck us over a ridiculous transfer fee that we seem so hell-bent to spend just to get this guy. I know he's going to come in. He's going to do well. I really do believe he will do well. But is it going to be good enough for the money we're going to spend? Is he the right profile? You think of Lewandowski, you think of a target man, you think of somebody who's a goal scorer without a doubt. I believe Julian Alvarez can get his goals, sure. But how are they going to look? How are they going to fit? For somebody like Lamine Yamal, who likes to cross the ball into the box, whether it's to Chavella or just whipping the ball into the box, who is his target if that's Julian Alvarez instead of Lewandowski? And I'm not saying he can't win any headers because he's short, but there's only so many headers you can win compared to somebody who's at the size of Lewandowski. I think Deco, because this is all coming from Deco, he wants to put Ferran Torres on the transfer list. He wants to keep Lewandowski for one more year, and he wants to go for Julian Alvarez. I think that Julian Alvarez part is not only Deco, but it's also Laporta. Deco, you doing your thing with trying to get Ferran as over the two, trying to get him out because you know you can bring him money. Finally, like, we're on the same page. Fans and Deco, we're clicking on that. With the Lewandowski renewal, you may not want to try to bring in two strikers in one window. I get it. So it's But you missing me completely with this Julian Alvarez thing, man, because we're so hell bent on him. They have his transfer market value right now, according to FootMob, 150 million euros. And that gets me to the next point, that they want to try to use him. Because what did that tweet say specifically? It said they want to sell Ferran Torres to fund further deals. So we acting like we got the money up front to just go ahead and get Julian Alvarez for whatever it's going to cost. But for us to do even more business in the window, we're going to have to sell Ferran Torres to fund it. Just for us to follow, just for us to be reminded by Fabrizio Romano that Bastoni could be available, but Inter want big money. He will not be cheap. Fabrizio just reposted this just to reiterate the guy that y'all want as center back, because we just found out Nico Soderberg, he's about to renew with Dortmund. So now Bastoni is available, but he won't be cheap. So we're really going to go, our first year going out there and really spending money. You telling me we're probably going to have to spend 90 million euros for Bastoni, because that's how much Vardiol costs to go to City, and they said they're going to want something around that. So we're going to spend 90 million euros on Bastoni, and then spend 125, 150 million euros. Now they sit. Let me take that back, because they did say that they won't spend anything over 100 million. If you believe them, they said they won't spend anything over 100 million at the striker position. If that is the case, we're not getting Julian Alvarez. It's just as simple as that. If that is the case, we're not getting Julian Alvarez. So y'all let me know what y'all think on this, man, because I agree with wanting to sell Ferran Torres. I don't really agree that much with the idea of what to do with Lewandowski. And Julian Alvarez is going to cost so much money, we realistically just can't afford him. Atletico's not going to cut any deals for us. And if we put a budget of 100 million euros to get Julian Alvarez, if we say our budget is 100 million euros to sign a striker, he's going to cost more than that. So therefore, we legitimately cannot get Julian Alvarez. Though we seem like this is our ideal scenario. Make that make sense. But yeah, I just wanted to touch bases on that, man, because I thought that was crazy. Is there anything else that I wanted to go over? Okay, so let's wrap this up and talk about this. Barcelona wants to sign Rashford and are exploring ways to make a deal possible, even though United wants 30 million outright. They are looking to either retain Rashford or sign another versatile winger to complement Yamal and Rafinha. Now that's interesting. And I say that because assuming we don't find an agreement with Manchester United over this fee, what versatile winger out there is available for 30 million or less? That's good enough to complement Yamal and Rafinha. I mean, any player for 30 million or cheaper than that, we're going to have to like take, how do I want to say this? Any player that we go out there and we try to find that we believe could eventually turn into that, we're going to have to take some type of gamble, because we're going to have to sign somebody who has a promising future. You're not going to find somebody who is already ready to compliment Lamine Yamal and Rafinha, but also going to be within 30 million. So either we can afford this type of player or we can't. Make that make sense. Um, if it's me, I'm signing Rashford, and I'm just going to go ahead and pay the 30 million, man. I would really try to see if I can do another loan. I would really try to work ways, but if United stands strong on this proposal, they're not budgeting. Pay the 30 million and call it a day. I just don't think if you don't go with Rashford, because he's very versatile, and I still believe we're not even getting the most out of him. He should be playing at the striker position. That's me. But if we decide to not go with Rashford, who else? Who can really fill that type of, like, he's very talented. So who can fill his role at 30 million or cheaper? That's not much out there. So go ahead and sign him permanently, man. Go ahead and sign him permanently for 30 million euros. Have his confidence stay up because he now has a new home. I would try to play him more at the striker position because he's somebody where if he's confident, he's getting some goals. I think we could really get the most out of him. I don't think he will come here and have the problems that he had at United. We're already seeing that now. But we have to be real with ourselves, and we're not going to find a player as talented who can give us the contributions that Rashford can for that price of 30 million or cheaper. I just don't see it. Anybody we put that money on that we think can be that guy is probably a young player who has a high ceiling, but it's going to take some time to develop. If we're looking for somebody who can come in right now to complement Lamine Yamal and Rafinha, you got him already. He's on the team. Make his loan deal permanent. Don't make it harder than what it needs to be. What does this for say? Barcelona hasn't closed the doors. Oh, yeah, this is about João Cancelo. Okay. So, yeah. So, this one, João Cancelo, it says here that Barcelona hasn't closed the doors and keeping João Cancelo permanently. They value this option, but only if, one, he continues to perform, and two, he comes in on a free transfer. They don't want to pay a fee to get him. And honestly, bro, like, it feels good for a Barcelona fan to actually hear that our board, they're not perfect, but they're sensible about spending their money, at least in this aspect. I don't know about this Julian Alvarez mess, but in this aspect with João Cancelo, if it was the other way around, bro, if somebody wanted João Cancelo and he was on our team with this age and those wages, they wouldn't be giving us a transfer. They wouldn't be giving us any type of fee to bring him in. Let's just be real. They would be like, okay, we'll take him off your hands, but you're going to have to release him. And we'll go ahead and just go in outright, just like come to an agreement with him. We're not giving Barcelona any transfer fee. We've seen that. It just happened with Gundogan the last time Cancelo was here. So I'm like, if it was flipped, we wouldn't be getting any money for this player with this profile, and so we would just have to let him go. We should be doing the same to clubs that will be doing that to us. So I like the fact that, yeah, we don't mind João Cancelo. We don't mind keeping him here as long as he continues to do what he's been doing. Train hard, play well. Yeah, he's still not perfect defensively, but there's effort there, and that's all you can really ask for. You continue to do that, and you come in as a free, yeah, we'll take you. But if Al Hilal is asking us to pay 5 million, 10 million, 15 million euros, anything like that, get out of here with that. And I agree. As much as I would like to keep Cancelo, I agree that that's how we should go out. Because if that's the case, they're going to force us to pay. There's other left backs out there we can put money on that we can get the same level of production that João Cancelo is giving us. So definitely want to know your thoughts on the João Cancelo news because I am in agreement with both Flick, Laporta, and Deco. And look, I'm going to end it with this, man. I thought it was funny. Um, I've never seen a club do this, bro. Never. I don't know if y'all seen Atletico Madrid's Twitter account, but they have been going off, man. This is them posting this earlier. This is from their official account. This is after 2 days in which the machinery has focused on a play that today, and this is translated, so it may not be 100% like the right words used, but anyway, after 2 days in which the machinery has focused on a play that today has been ratified, a question arises for us. How can a derby end with only two fouls? We detail it for you in our review time. And when scrolling through, you see here, it's the first clip saying that's not a foul. That is crazy. I mean, Carvajal is just coming in just reckless, bro. That's a foul. That's a clear foul. In my eyes, that's a clear foul. Vinny didn't get penalized for diving, and they show on a replay. He clearly throws himself down to the ground. He gets away with that shit week in and week out. And only Vinny at Real Madrid can get away with some shit like that. But that's another thing they pointed out. He didn't get penalized for that diving, yet he does it all the time. I don't understand how this is not a penalty. To me, this is the most egregious one. People are going to say he got the shot off. I don't care about him getting the shot off, bro. Look how Carvajal goes in. That is so reckless. And if that happened anywhere else on the pitch, that is a foul. Like, bro, look at his head, how that slammed off the ground, bro. That is, them not getting a foul off that, a penalty off that is insane to me. I got a train coming at me head on. It's not a mistake. This one, now look, I'm gonna be fair. If you're already frustrated and you've seen a lot of shit didn't go your way, you're gonna also add this to your collection of highlights on where you was robbed as an Atletico Madrid fan. But I'm looking at this. To me, that is not a penalty. I'm going to be fair. This is not a penalty. Carvajal is, man, he's reckless, bro. He leaves his leg out there a little bit. I get the point people are trying to make with this. I just don't think it's enough. Because there was nobody, like, he left his leg out, but he actually didn't make all that much contact. Like, he pulled his leg back before he made contact with his leg, lower leg. Leg out here, but he touches him. By the time he nips him, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And then people are focusing on the push from Rudiger, and we know Rudiger, bro. He's hella reckless. We get it. I don't think his push was the reason why he went down. I think Lookman. Was. I don't think that's enough, bro. I don't think that's enough. It's borderline. I'm not saying like that's a, like obviously Atletico Madrid. You clearly are reaching. I'm not saying that's the case with this. I personally just don't think that's enough for a penalty. All this other shit though, they have everything to be upset about. And then this right here. What? That's a foul. No yellow card, nothing, no red, obviously. But that's a foul. But that wasn't called a foul. And again, I'm looking at this as like, this is this is a little bump in the midfield. Like that's a foul. But again, if you're in Atletico Madrid's fans' shoes and you've seen that you should have been given a couple penalties in your eyes, several fouls weren't given, and then this happens. I'm livid already. I'm already hot in my head. I'm already pissed off. So I'm just adding this to the collection. But this is just a foul. It's not a yellow card. It's not a red. It's just a foul in my eyes. And they do they have one more? They do. Huh? Did they? Nah. Let me see that again. Yeah, that's a foul. Now, again, I get why they may be upset. That's a foul, though. That is a foul. I don't understand why they're upset. These last two, that's just a regular foul. I don't think this is a penalty. That was a foul. This should have been a penalty. 100%. This would be a penalty. He should have been given a yellow for diving. And Carvajal was reckless. Don't think it's a yellow. Don't think it's a red. But that's a foul. But I just wanted to point this out because I've never seen anything like this from an actual account. Like an official account labeling out, these are the videos. This is the evidence right here of where we felt we got robbed. But that is crazy. They have a point. How do you have a derby, especially these two teams, the Madrid derby, and there's only 2 fouls called in it? Is that real? That can't be true. It didn't feel like any fouls were given when watching the game, but there's no way only 2 fouls were called, bro. Hold on. This was Sunday, La Liga, stats. Oh my God. That is insane. Okay. Wow, only 2, bro. Why did it feel like it was? It didn't feel like they had as much as Atletico Madrid, but at the same time, it didn't feel as low as 2. That is crazy. But we already know, man. La Liga fans, we already know how this goes, man. Papa Perez, man, he makes the call, and then what they do is they get away with robbery, but they make sure there's one controversial call gone against them. So it can't just 100% look like blatant favoritism. Because they can be like, well, we got a red card. We got a player that was sent off, straight red. And it was a red, mind you. But they could be making that point. Oh, well, it can't be all the way favored because that's the case. Why is our player getting sent off? So I think they do little shit like that. Give us the results and favor us in a way where it can help us win, but don't. It's like when you're cheating, right? When you're copying the answers on a test, you're cheating. You don't want to make it look like it's 100% because that's blatant as hell. That okay, unless you would just, especially if your history don't show that you get 100s on tests, that's going to come off as like a red flag. But if you miss a couple questions here and there, you get that high 88, that 92. Okay, you study, you did your thing. But you missed a couple. But that assumption of cheating just immediately goes away. Like, 88%, 90%. For somebody who normally you struggle, you look like you did your thing on this test. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. And you going about your day. If for Real Madrid, they know you can't just make it look so easy. The game is in our hand. Now, granted, this red card did happen in the 77th minute, so you can't say that they had the game in hand. It was they had the lead. It was a red card, but I just think if you really watch them and how they get away with shit, most of the shit they get is favored towards them. That 80%, 90% that I was talking about. But I'm gonna give you the 10%, the 15%. Against us so it can make it look like it's not 100% favoritism. Only Real Madrid fans will disagree with that, and I get it. If they're saying that about my club, I got to go out there and try to back them in any type of way. I'm going to look naive, but it is what it is. That's just a fact. But every other team in Spain, in Europe, especially big teams that come across this club several times, they have their own montage, their own history, evidence that shit was going against them in particular, and how every single time we come out of this, like, wow, the referees really favored them. I don't know. This is a coincidence, maybe. I don't think so. But I had to point that out, bro, because I've never seen a Twitter account break down, like, the evidence. Like, bro, this is where we're going to go ahead and how can a derby end with only 2 fouls? They only had 2 fouls called against them. I didn't believe it, but I had to go look it up. They only had 2 fouls called against them. And some of the tackles that we saw in this is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But look, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I'm about to hit the gym. Like I said, I just did this emergency podcast. Oh, podcast. I did this emergency stream because I wanted to talk about it before waiting until like later on tonight. Like I had to get my 2 cents in on this. Um, but yeah, I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts on this Ferran Torres. What do y'all think that we're finally putting it out there that we will transfer list him, but we do want to keep Lewandowski for another year as we prioritize getting Julian Alvarez as our main number 9. I don't agree with that ending, but again, this is just all opinions that's being shared, man. So I'm working on structuring these a little bit better. Maybe I'll continue to do live streams. Maybe I will just, do the YouTube videos in itself. But I appreciate y'all patience for rocking with me. If y'all made it this far into the stream, or if you haven't already, can you please just like the stream? It helps get my shit out there. It really does. Your boy getting better with the thumbnails. I'm trying to do a little something, man. But my main thing is just being consistent. So I appreciate y'all again for watching. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Comment down below your thoughts on this, man, for real. Especially for the people that wasn't here while it was live. Definitely comment down below your thoughts on all of what we covered today, from Ferran Torres to Julian Alvarez, from Rashford to João Cancelo, and what's your take on this incident with Atletico Madrid, man? Because I thought this was hilarious. But I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. You're gonna be seeing more little stuff like this because it is the international break, so it's got a lot of downtime coming up. But more content coming soon, man. Appreciate y'all for watching. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Till then, Two Tone is out. Peace.